kept moving forward, deeper into the forest, the air growing heavier with every step. The cold wasn't just in the wind anymore. It seemed to come from the ground itself, seeping up through my boots, wrapping around my legs like something alive. My breath came out in pale clouds, but even the sound of it felt too loud. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was walking in step with me. The woods here were different. The trees grew closer together, their twisted branches clawing at the sky, blocking out what little moonlight remained. It was as if the forest was trying to keep me inside, trying to close off any chance of escape. My flashlight beam jittered with each trembling step, landing on bark so dark it almost looked wet. And then, the sound came back, that same slow, deliberate crunch of footsteps. But now it wasn't behind me. It was to my left. I froze, my ears strained, trying to separate my own heartbeat from whatever was moving out there. There it was again, a soft step, then another. And then, nothing. Silence so thick it made the hairs on my arms stand on end. I wanted to call out. Some part of me thought maybe it was just another lost hiker, someone who could help, but my throat wouldn't work. The words stuck there like ice, because deep down I already knew. Whoever was out there wasn't lost. They were following. I forced myself to keep walking, pretending I hadn't heard. Maybe if I acted like I didn't notice, they would leave me alone. But my pace quickened, and I could feel theirs matching mine. Step for step, breath for breath. The deeper I went, the more wrong the forest began to feel. The wind picked up, but instead of rustling the leaves, it carried whispers. Faint, almost too soft to catch. But there, my name. I swore I heard my name in that wind. Keep going. Don't look back. The words weren't loud. They weren't even clear, but they slid into my mind like a cold blade, and suddenly I couldn't tell if they were coming from outside or inside my own head. I tried to tell myself I was just tired, hungry, scared, that I was hearing things because I'd been walking for hours without food or rest. But then the whispers grew louder, and they weren't all saying the same thing. Some told me to turn left, others said right, and a few told me to stop, to wait. I didn't listen, couldn't. I kept moving straight ahead, pushing branches out of my way, my flashlight catching glimpses of things I didn't want to see. A shadow that didn't belong to me, a pale hand curling back behind a tree just as my light passed over it. The footsteps were closer now. I could hear the crunch of dead leaves, the snap of small twigs. Whoever it was, they weren't trying to hide anymore. And then, through the thick trees ahead, I saw it. Clearing. I don't know why, but the sight of open space made my chest tighten. The forest had been suffocating, yes, but the clearing felt wrong in a different way. Too open, too still. The moonlight poured down into it, silvery and cold, illuminating something that made my stomach twist. The trees around the clearing were scarred. Deep, jagged gouges ran up their trunks, as if something had clawed at them, desperately trying to get out or in. I didn't want to step inside. Every instinct screamed to turn around. But the footsteps behind me were too close now. I could almost feel breath on the back of my neck. I ran into the clearing. The moment my boots hit the frosted grass, the whispers stopped. Completely. The silence was so sudden it felt unnatural. My flashlight beam swung wildly, scanning the edges, but there was no sign of whoever had been following me. No movement, no sound. And then, the trees began to creak. Not sway, not bend in the wind, but creak, like wood under immense pressure. Slowly, impossibly, their branches leaned toward the clearing, the way a crowd leans in to listen to a secret. I took a step back and the branches followed. It wasn't the wind. I stumbled backward, my breath coming fast. My light caught movement in the corner of my vision. Shapes shifting between the trunks. Human shapes, but not quite right. Too tall, too thin. Their limbs bending at angles that made my stomach turn. They stayed in the shadows, but I could feel their eyes on me. One of them stepped forward, just enough for the moonlight to catch its face. Only it wasn't a face. Not really. Just pale, stretched skin where features should be. I turned and ran. The forest seemed to close around me as I bolted, branches slapping at my arms and legs, roots snagging at my boots. The whispers returned, louder this time, all speaking over one another in a frantic, desperate chorus. Stop running. Come back. This way. I didn't listen. Couldn't listen. I just kept moving, my lungs burning, my legs screaming. But no matter how far I ran, I could hear them behind me. Their footsteps weren't hurried, they didn't need to hurry. They knew I couldn't escape. And then, ahead in the darkness, I saw something. Light. Not moonlight this time. A warm, flickering glow. A fire. I pushed myself harder, every muscle in my body aching, until I broke through the last line of trees and into another small clearing. In the center was a campfire, flames dancing gently in the night air, and sitting beside it was a man. He looked up as I stumbled toward him, his face calm, almost expectant, like he'd been waiting for me. "Long way from home, aren't you?" he said. His voice was steady, deep, but something in his eyes made me freeze. They were too still, too knowing. I opened my mouth to speak, but behind me, the whispers stopped again. I turned slowly, just in time to see the shadows melt back into the trees. The man smiled. "You made it," he said softly, and that was when I realized the fire wasn't giving off any heat.